Number 5. The Callback. Last night, a friend dragged me out to a local bar's music night. I'd had a few drinks when I realized my phone wasn't in my pocket. After searching the bar, I borrowed my friend's phone to call mine. It rang twice before someone answered. A low, raspy giggle echoed through the receiver before the line went dead. I tried calling again, but now it went straight to voicemail. I gave up, figuring my phone was stolen, and headed home. But when I got back, there it was. My phone, resting on my nightstand, as if it had never left. I picked it up, relieved, and checked my call history. That's when I froze. Dozens of calls to my friend's number, all from my phone, even though I hadn't been holding it. Heart pounding, I opened my messages. There was a text thread between my number and an unknown contact with a single message. Nice try. Like and subscribe before it gets creepy. Number 4. The wrong bus. When I was a kid, I was always the last to get picked up by the school bus. One morning I was waiting alone when a bus with no kids pulled up. The driver smiled at me and told me to hop on. I felt uneasy and asked, "Where are the other kids?" He replied, "We'll get them now, just get on." When I hesitated, his expression grew tense. "Get on the bus," he repeated, voice low and menacing. I refused, and he eventually shrugged, driving off. The real bus arrived a few minutes later, and I told my parents what happened that night. They were frantic, making calls to the school and bus company, but no one knew anything about a second bus. Years later, I stumbled upon a local news article while researching something else. I found a grainy photograph from the year I started school, a picture of a bus that had gone missing in 1967, the same route number as mine. The driver had taken it off route one day, and it was never seen again. Until now. Comment if you liked it and press the like button. Number 3. The Woman Next Door. I rented an apartment from a friend of mine who had recently renovated it. The first night, I noticed strange noises from the neighbor's apartment. She would sit up, listening to loud religious radio broadcasts, muttering to someone who wasn't there. Unable to sleep, I went to her door, asking her to keep it down. She opened the door just a crack, revealing a dark, filthy apartment filled with crosses and bizarre symbols. The windows were painted black, and the stench of rot made me gag. A few nights later, I woke up to find her standing by my bed watching me. She held a crumpled, yellowed piece of paper and whispered, "It worked. You'll take my place now." Then she left. The next morning, I heard her chanting outside my window, a plastic bag clutched in her hand. I peered outside and saw her cradling something rotten inside it, whispering. When I confronted the landlord, he looked at me horrified and said, "You're my only tenant. There's no one else living here." If you have watched till here, subscribe and press the like button. Number 2. The Biker. It was nearly midnight, and I was wrapping up my shift when I heard a loud crash. Someone had thrown a rock through the front window. I called security, but the place was deserted. I shook off the weird feeling, ran to my car, and sped home, locking every door. It was only after I'd been home for a few minutes that I realized I hadn't unlocked my car before getting in. My pulse quickened as I reached back, hand trembling, to feel around the back seat. Nothing. Relief flooded me, but the feeling didn't last. Later, as I was biking to a friend's place, I felt someone trailing me. I glanced back and saw a figure pedaling behind me on my mom's bike. I pulled over, expecting him to ride past, but instead, he stopped in front of me. With a crazed grin, he whispered, "Forgot something." He tossed me my own car keys. When I got home, my mom's bike was back in the garage, spotless, as if it had never left. But my car was unlocked, and in the back seat was a single piece of paper with one word written on it. "Soon, are you enjoying?" Number 1. The Payphone. I worked the night shift at a campground in a remote area, alone in a small shack. One night, a fellow worker mentioned the payphone across from my shack. "Every night at 4:17 a.m., it rings once," he said, shrugging it off as an automated test call. But the idea creeped me out. Curiosity got the better of me, and one night I set my alarm to answer the call. At 4:17 a.m., it rang. I answered, and there was nothing but static, as though someone was on the other end, listening. The silence continued, an eerie emptiness that felt wrong. I hung up. After a month, I decided to try again. This time, when I answered, there was a low, rattling breath. Then a voice, strained and rasping, whispered my name, drawing it out, syllable by syllable. I hung up, my skin crawling. The following night, my alarm went off at 4:15 a.m., as I'd set it before, but I hadn't set it this time. The payphone started ringing, louder than ever, echoing through the empty campground. I ignored it, but it rang and rang, refusing to stop. Finally, I answered. The same voice rasped, but this time it was closer, like someone standing right behind me. Turn around. I hung up, but the phone started ringing again. I bolted out of the shack, heart pounding, only to see no phone. There had never been a payphone. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.